Okay, so you finally did it. Yay! You quit the job you hate, you left the relationship that took your spark, you left the place that never really felt home. And for a moment, it felt amazing. Like finally exhaling after holding your breath for way too long. So yes, that's celebrate. Bring out the champagne. Genuinely, that took courage. But then, the excitement settles. The adrenaline fades. The congratulation texts slow down. And you're sitting there in the quiet, maybe staring at the ceiling, maybe staring at your phone, and something starts creeping in. Slowly, quietly, like it was waiting for the celebration to end. Doubt. Fear. That specific kind of dread that doesn't announce itself. It just shows up. And suddenly, the brave thing you did starts feeling less like freedom and more like, wait, did I just make a huge mistake? First things first, feeling all of this, totally normal. We're human. We're allowed to feel. We're supposed to feel. This is not your God telling you that you made the wrong choice. This is your brain doing what brains do when the familiar disappears. And here's why. Our brains are wired for one thing above everything else: survival. And to your brain, familiar equals safe. Even when familiar was making you miserable. The job that drained you, your brain knew that job. It knew the schedule, the routine, the people. It knew what to expect. The relationship that hurt you, your brain knew that too. It knew the patterns, even the painful ones. And when you remove something familiar, even something that was bad for you, your brain reads that as a danger. Not freedom, danger. There's actually a name for this. It's called loss aversion. The idea that our brain processes loss as roughly twice as painful as an equivalent gain feels good. Twice. So the relief of leaving something bad gets drowned out by the fear of the unknown. Every single time. Not because you're weak, because you're human. But wait, it gets worse. Sorry. Imagine you bought a concert ticket, a really expensive one, and then on the day of the concert, you're sick, exhausted, the weather is terrible, you genuinely don't want to go. But you go anyway, because you already paid for it. That's the sunk cost fallacy. The idea that we keep committing to something not because it's still good for us, but because of everything we've already put into it. The years, the effort, the sacrifice, the version of ourselves we've built around it. And this is exactly why starting over is so hard, because leaving feels like admitting that all that time, all that energy was wasted. 8 years at that job, 5 years in that relationship, a whole chapter of your life in that place. And your brain goes, if I leave now, what was the point of any of it? But here's the thing, the time is already gone. Whether you stay or go, you don't get those years back. The only question is, what you do with the time you still have. And then the third thing. Here's something we don't say out loud enough. When we leave something, we don't just lose the thing itself. We lose a version of ourselves that existed inside of it. Think about it. You weren't just an employee. You were the person who worked at that place. Maybe you were good at it. Maybe it was part of how you introduce yourself at parties. And now, that sentence doesn't have an ending. You weren't just in a relationship. You were somebody's person. You had a role, a routine, a we. And now, that we is just I. And I feels very small when you're used to we. Psychologists call this an identity threat, when a significant part of how we see ourselves suddenly no longer exists. And it's not dramatic to say that losing an identity, even one that wasn't serving you anymore, feels like a kind of grief, because it is. You are allowed to grieve the version of yourself you had to leave behind in order to move forward. But here's what I want you to sit with for a second. You didn't lose the version of you who was capable, who worked hard, who figured things out. That person is still you, who just simply entered bigger spaces that requires you to be a beginner again. The disorientation you feel right now isn't you losing yourself. It's you outgrowing the container you used to fit in. And that's not a loss. It's just uncomfortable. The way anything new is uncomfortable before it becomes familiar. So let's recap what's actually happening in your head when you start over. Your brain is screaming danger because the familiar is gone. It's telling you the years you spent were wasted, and it's grieving a version of you that no longer has a role to play. All three, all the same time. In your head while people are trying to tell you, look on the bright side. But now you know what it is, and that changes things, even just a little. Think about it this way. When we were kids, everything was scary. Going down that big slide for the first time, going to school for the very first time, Mom leaving the room for literally 2 minutes. The world hadn't ended yet. We just didn't know that. Because we hadn't done it before, and our brain had no proof that it would be okay. Starting over as an adult is the same thing, just with more expensive consequences and nobody holding your hand. The fear isn't irrational. It's just your brain asking for proof that you don't have yet. So the questions start coming. What if this was the wrong decision? What if I don't get hired again? What if I don't find anyone else? What if they were right? And look, we're not going to pretend those questions aren't scary. Here's what I actually believe. Everything is hard. Everything has risks. The comfortable thing and the brave thing. Both cost you something. You just have to choose what kind of heart you're willing to live with. Pick a struggle. Would you rather do the job that you hate, or struggle to figure out the thing you actually love? Would you rather stay in a relationship where you aren't chosen, or be single but be able to do the things you love for yourself? Would you rather live at a place where you stay in your room all day, or be someplace different but able to experience new stuff every day? None of those options are easy. I'm not gonna tell you they are. But one of them is yours, and you already know which one. At the end of the day, this is your life. The one you actually have. Not the one you planned. Not the one other people expected. This one. And as long as you're not hurting anyone, seriously, follow the law. I'm not bailing anyone out. Go do the thing. Feel the fear. Let it come. And then do it anyway. Because the doubt you feel right now isn't a stop sign. It's just proof that what you did actually mattered.